Hello, humans. Welcome back. This is V and M from the Bearded Ladies. So I'm going to be honest with you today, guys. This is a topic that I personally picked out, and I'm not entirely convinced of its value. I'll put it like that. It's a nice way to say that I had to drink a V8 energy drink just to be able to do it. Sounds like those people who have to drink beer just to stay like fun at parties. I don't know. Anyways, I just have to drink a V8. But I'm here.
Fun for themselves.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
how we do. One second, I just have a cat on my lap. I'm gonna get her off, and we'll start. Okay, so guys, now that I'm back, the topic for today is wealth or poverty, and which is it that we should spiritually strive for. So I have a couple of notes here. We're going to go into in depth on some of them. Perhaps here and there, M will ask me a question, and we'll kind of veer off on that for a little bit, and we'll come back to the notes. You guys know how we do this. Anyway, so I got a couple of things. Did you want to say something?
No, it's okay. You're doing great.
Okay.
I'll leave it to you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So this first little tidbit that I got for wealth or poverty was from this website from Dr. Carol's Ministries. She brought, and I'm assuming it's a she brought this topic up in a very succinct way that I never thought of actually going about it. It was a very short article, but it was very, like, as I said, very succinct and straight to the point. She said, are you a giver or are you a taker? The difference being, if you are a giver in life, you are more likely to be wealthy versus if you're a taker. And this has nothing to do with the amount of money in your bank account, but instead it has to do with the amount of energy you choose to give out or take, or the amount of smiles you give out to people. And it could also go into actual wealth, how much money you are able to give. Are you a tipper? Do you tip at restaurants, or do you just run away and leave and not tip the people? So that's what the giving is. And then the taking could be, for example, taking people's stuff. So it could lead to stealing, for example, but it could also be just not listening to a partner when they're trying to talk to you. You're kind of just taking away from that person's ability to just be seen and heard. If you want to give, then be a good listener, for example. If you want to take away from them, then just ignore the person completely or something along those lines. So I thought that was a very interesting way of having you be rich or poor spiritually. I guess it makes sense because on a spiritual level, it's not talking about money per se. That is the first dot that I have. There you go. I like to think of certain words, but they only come to me in different languages. So then I have to find the English word, and I'm like, point. That's how we say it.
Yes, excellent.
Okay. All righty. Anything you want to add in before I head on to my second point?
For the giver and taker, in what context has she made these two phrases?
Let us look it up, for we have the internet.
Ooh.
No.
What mysterious technology.
Okay, so oh no, I'm losing it. Oh, there you are. Dr. Carol Ministries. I knew I could count on you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the actual thing. Okay. So blah 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 blah. So there's a lot of talk in politics recently about income disparity and the haves and have-nots.
Oh, okay.
So, then she says wealth or poverty is a state of mind. And I can actually read one of these examples in real time. So taking is, for example, you might take someone else's reputation or good name away from them, and by talking bad about them. You can take time from your employer, so I guess that's pretty self-explanatory. Next, for giving, you can say you give your best effort to your employer, or you can give someone a deserved compliment. So she goes on to say that if you see yourself as poor, you will not see yourself as having anything to give. If you see yourself as rich, you will always have something else to be generous with. So it doesn't always have to be a state of money or material gains, according to her.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So I thought it was an interesting way to look at it, because I think automatically money, right?
Yeah.
Your wealth. So I guess moving on to the next point, if you're done with the question.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. This one was by the tifwe.org, tifwe.org.
Mm-hmm.
They had a really long article, so I'm going to be honest with you guys, I did not make it all the way through, but I got through most of it. So
Didn't get the spark notes?
No, I got you guys the spark notes. There you go. So basically what stood out to me the most from this article was that this person was saying that both extremes, both poverty and wealth, miss the mark. So it's about neither nor, at least biblically speaking, according to this article. For example, you can use business and therefore wealth as a way to serve other people. And as we know, if you're in the Christian community, by serving others, you are serving God. So business can definitely be one way to help out. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. And then we have one of our famous verses. Sorry, my cat is messing stuff up as we speak. More famous verses is Matthew 5:3 from the Beatitudes, if you guys are familiar with that. This one specifically says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." So that is the most common verse, that one of the most common verses uses in order to make an argument for wealth being a better way to lead your life spiritually. I personally kind of agree with the fact that both extremes miss the mark. I don't really think that you have to be either or, but I think depending on the lifestyle that you wish to have, that is where poverty or business comes from. Some people are totally fine being in poverty or wealth, for example. I'm just slightly going off script, but some people are fine with being in poverty, and I think if you're living alone, that's the best time to be in poverty, because you don't have to worry about helping out any family members or anything like that. You're just by yourself. And I'll be honest, I was like that at one point. I wanted to be almost like a nomad, so by myself. So I understand completely. Poverty lifestyle might go along with that, or at least a lifestyle that's not entirely based in wealth. You're probably not going to have a lot going on if you just wanted to be a nomad. So maybe there are wealthy nomads though, however. Again, then when it comes to wealth, I think for families, wealth is more important for families, because you have more people to take care of. You don't want to put them in compromising situations just because they don't have wealth with them. For example, like a kid wanting to go on a, what is it called, a field trip. You want them to be able to go.
Yeah.
Wealth might help out in that area. It doesn't have to be big things, but stuff like that. But that's just a small tidbit of how I feel about it. I don't know if you guys know about the ALUX videos, but we have a couple that are listed. I got to check my notes because I forgot where I listed it. I didn't do it in my written notes. I only did it in my computer notes.
So, while you're looking that up, do you mind if I ask like a couple questions?
Sure.
Or just like comments?
Mm-hmm.
Like, when we're talking about wealth, are we meaning like an abundance? Or I guess I kind of want to know the threshold of what we're talking about with wealth or poverty.
Wealth, I would say, because the opposite right now is poverty, I would say for the sake of the video, then yes, I do want the extremes so that it makes sense.
Okay.
They balance each other.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That was that was just a clarifying question. You can.
No, that's fine. I found the letters. What do you call it? The titles. There you go. I can speak English today, guys. All right. So the first ALUX video, again, check them out on YouTube if you ever get a chance. They're pretty awesome, I think. It's called 25 Reasons Why It's Better to be rich than poor. And I just pulled out 3 little things so we can stop and go as we'd like. But the 3 that were my favorite points. The first one says that you can provide for your family. I'm a big proponent of providing for your family because I grew up in a poverty-like situation, and while I wouldn't say it was the worst life ever to live as a child growing up, you do realize how wealth would have drastically changed your lifestyle if you had it. Instead of being told, no, you can't get this, no, you can't go there, no, you can't blah, 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 because we don't have enough money for it. It kind of sucks. So I'm a big proponent in believing that wealth can provide for family. And it doesn't have to be full 6 figures. I know I just said it has to be wealth with family and all that good stuff, and I'm talking about the extremes for video's sake, but just in real life, let's be honest, you don't have to necessarily have 6 figures to run a family, but you need to have enough so that your children are fed every night, and that you have gas in your car, you have your insurance paid. I think you should have like the basis figured out, know how big your family's going to be, and then go according to that. But that's just me. There are calculators on the internet you can use to find out how to do that if you're really interested. Next, and this is my favorite, your sex life is better. So the thing that I love about this one is because it could mean multiple things. It could mean if your children under 18, cover your ears. It could mean orgies. That's a possibility. I'm just saying we know that that's possible. We're all grown up here.
Oh, I just had an image of like, you remember Futurama? With like hedonism bot?
Oh no.
Like, oh Joffrey, bring the chocolates. I'm sorry, I had a flashback.
Okay guys, like this video if you understood the reference. Alright. Yeah. No, but I also heard a really good point that Shira, my girl, I always bring her up. She brought up is that, when a woman is not worried about bills, or we can say men, 2021, when the woman is not worried about providing for bills and her house is paid off or it's getting paid off and all that stuff like that, she has better sex because she's not worried about what's going on. And she has better sex than her partner, he or she, will also have better sex. And it's just you can get things such as full body orgasms and like all that good stuff if you know what you're doing. I read stuff like this, so I think it's a very interesting point.
I don't know, man. Maybe there's a thing about like, time restricted sex that we're not getting,
Time restricted.
Like, because if you don't, how like you appreciate something more if you aren't able to get it very often, or if you're on like a time crunch and you only have that much time to like appreciate it, so you appreciate it that much more. I don't know, man. Maybe
it's not like money. Maybe it's all. Alrighty. And then lastly, for the wealthy section, we have that you are free. So for those of you who are aware of, or perhaps you're not aware of, we have what's called, financial freedom. There you go. That is when you are no longer dependent on jobs to get your money. It's mostly you have passive income coming in. Excuse me, guys. And in that case, when you get to that level, however you get there, you're free. You don't have to clock into a job unless you want to. You don't have to go out and do horrible, awful, risk-taking jobs like working in coal mines and stuff like that. All great jobs for people who are doing it. But the point is you are free from having to do it unless you absolutely want to do it. I remember learning about this lady. She was coming from a wealthy family. I don't remember which wealthy family, but it was probably something in the food industry. The point is, she was the granddaughter of whoever this great megalobe, is that what you say? I'm making up words now. We're gonna say Bangladesh. Okay. Point is, she was the granddaughter of a really rich family, but she didn't have to work at all. I believe she had a trust fund and all that stuff. But she was probably no older than us, and she was thinking, no, I want to work as a job. So you can work. If you retire early, you can work. If you become financially free, you can work. But you don't have to. And that's what I like the most. If it was me, I would probably be asleep all day. I feel like a cat. I would just take cat naps all day.
I don't know. Maybe you get stir crazy eventually. You're like, oh man, I wish I had.
What I do get, I don't get stir crazy. I get like bed crazy, because you know when you lay on your side for too long and your leg starts to hurt, and then you turn to the side and it starts to hurt, and then like I have nowhere else to turn, so you lay on your butt. That's how it's like, what do you call those? Bed sores.
Yeah.
Like bed sore.
Should I be concerned?
I'm just lazy. I just lay in bed all day. But yeah, that's why I need to start working out. That way I can have something to do on my agenda. Anyways, anything else you want to add?
For the mentally, not mentally, for the wealthy having more freedom, I agree with that completely, in that you would have more time. But I've also heard of this like concept with people that are too focused on making money that they kind of get lost in the sauce, right? Of like wondering why you're working hard to make money and you're just spending all your time thinking about, your work, that you've lost the point of what's the benefit of having all that wealth. I think it was in the previous ALUX video, which I thought was a really interesting point.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense. If you can balance out and have a good work-life balance, I encourage that for everyone, especially me. I'm catnapping half the time. I think that you should have a great work-life balance. I don't think anyone should ever work themselves with it nose to the grind if they don't see the immediate benefits from it, if that makes sense. If they're not getting praise from their family, if they're not not that the family should like praise them, but just you are working hard for them. At least you would hope so, unless it's all for yourself. I mean, but yeah, I don't think that people should work themselves to death, because, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I know that I probably am. In a lot of Asian countries, especially Eastern Asia, I've heard of suicides from overworking, not even just from the grown-ups overworking, but even from some students. Just to get into a good school, they take the test and they can't do it, or they're afraid and they are willing to kill themselves. I don't believe that anybody should ever go that far.
I mean, I'm not an expert on the suicide rates, but I do know that Japan actually had to make laws where it forced vacation times. Not because of people committing suicide due to overwork, though suicide is a problem, but it's not talked about a lot in Japan because of a taboo subject. But for exhaustion, they died of exhaustion. So since that was happening, they decided to force holidays.
Yeah, no, that's good. I look at it, just that work-life balance. So yeah.
Don't wait for the government to force it on you.
Right? Okay. So I'm going to list the last 3 really quickly. So this comes from the ALUX video, 15 important lessons you learned growing up poor. This video I didn't like as much, but I got 2 out of 3 that I liked, and the third one I was just like, eh. The first one says that you don't take things for granted, which I agree. You use the best of your resources that you have. Don't take anything for granted. Simple things can mean a lot. I think that is beautiful, because I've gotten some of the simplest gifts from people. Not anything crazy extravagant, but just these small little gifts mean the whole world. And I know that sounds silly, but you learn that as you grow up poor. And then last but not least, we have money buys happiness when happiness depends on money. So that's the caveat. If happiness depends on money, then of course money is going to bring happiness. Duh. So yeah, that's all.
Okay. So, kind of something that was brought up when in my brain. It's not brought up in conversation. My brain brought it up. Like, I feel that both poverty or wealth can possibly give an unhealthy relationship towards money physically. So I'm kind of thinking mentally. I mean, I'm not quite a spiritual person yet, but we shall see. Like, for people in poverty, I can see how money is like a touchy subject in that you feel like your life is dependent on it, in that you feel that there is some things that you cannot do without an excess of it. And so sometimes I think it leads to this expectation that I need to have excess to be able to be happy.
Yeah.
Whereas with wealth, people that are born into wealthy families, I think they can possibly also have this like unhealthy mental state about money because possibly their mindset is constantly on what can make me money. And so it could affect their relationships in like, oh, is this person going to give me a good connection? Am I going to be able to like build my portfolio or shit? I don't know. Like wealthy people speak. I don't know. What do you think about that? Like connecting it to the spirituality.
Well, I do think it does create some sort of a physical manifestation. Either way, you're stressed on either end because, like you said, with the poor, they're looking for an excess to help mitigate whatever little they have. And then you get the poor who are, no, not the poor, the rich who are like sweating balls, like trying to get it done. Like, I don't know why that phrase came in my head. I just heard sweating balls. Anyway, you have old money and you have new money. That's another thing that we didn't talk about. But I would say if you have old money, you're less likely to worry about losing money because it's old. I mean, you got it. You're set. Your new money, I could see them striving and stressing out a little bit more. Yeah, I think it desperately affects their physical bodies either way because they're both getting stressed. And so when you do that, it makes it hard to live a spiritual life. Spiritual life doesn't necessarily mean the absence of the physical, but it does mean you add something to the physical. You have to add a sense of self and a sense of your spirit. That's why it's spiritual. So I think it can definitely make it difficult, but there are people who are at one with their poverty. There are people that are at one with their wealth. I think that's where the spirituality comes in.
So I guess that might be an interesting thing to kind of go over. So for me, when I think of spirituality, I kind of agree with you. It's like an acceptance of oneself, but I also get the impression that it's like connected to morality, like what we should do within our lives. Is that similar or for you?
At one point it was. I don't believe that there is a singular path of what we should do. I think that there's like we should be guided. We might be guided in our lives to head in certain directions. but I don't think it's 100% set.
Mm. But I guess for you is spirituality, how can I say? Like there's a goal from the mighty universe for one's process through life. Is that what you mean?
I think we definitely come in with goals. And we have to remember what they are. But even if we miss the goal, I don't think you're going to be shunned forever spiritually.
Okay. So then for the wealthy and the poor, what would you think I know it's completely individual, but what would you think would be difficult for them on a spiritual journey?
Being poor is trying not to look rich. And then when you're rich, because when you're poor, you try to look rich. If you get hand-me-downs that have Nike checks on them, you're like, that's gonna be my shirt. That's my shirt. I'm wearing that shirt. I don't care what you say. It's the Nike shirt. I'm gonna wear it. Or you get Nike shoes. You're gonna wear it, even if they're tattered, so long as they have the logo. You wear those shoes. So you run the risk of spending money you don't have to look like you have money. Whereas if you're rich, I think the biggest thing is the fear of being wanted for not who they are. People are always looking for you to wealth. They're always looking for you to invest. They're always looking, why can't I just have a friend? Why can't we just sit around and talk and drink beers? Sure, I might pay for the beers, but let that be because I want to, not because you're pressuring me to have to.
And to kind of add on to that, it's not like a one-way street, right? For the wealthy person, because I feel like their behavior would almost perpetuate that same attitude. Kind of what I'm saying is like hard not to see people as people, but like business opportunities.
Yeah. It should be. It could be. It can definitely be that way. Yeah. We're at 28 minutes. Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I just didn't want it to get to 30.
Well, I'll let you wrap us up.
Okay. Well, guys, thank you for listening in. We hope that you enjoyed this talk as per usual. Let us know what you have to say in the comment section. Like this video, share if you care. Let people know that we're just two really weird bearded ladies just having fun. So yeah. Anything you want to say?
Oh, just bye-bye until next time. I'm
Okay.
like 5. I don't know how to say goodbye to people.
All right, here we go.